Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeChara here once again, bringing you another amazing interview. And tonight we have my good friend again, Mike Wolf, who could probably just be a constant guest and talk about a different subject every night because that's just the kind of guy that he is. If you don't know me, I am a CPA entrepreneuraholic. I love doing this from the time I wake up until I go to sleep. All I think about is how can I help entrepreneurs. And I connect with people like Mike Wolf, who is a world-class entrepreneur, world-class person, philanthropist. And the most important thing I think about Mike is that he's a grandfather. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience, Mike?
Well, I can take a little bit of credit for becoming a grandfather. My daughter did a lot of the work. No, it's actually probably it's the most fulfilling thing on the planet. And raising kids is one thing, and I'm glad I survived it, and it was awesome. But grandkids, that's a whole other level. So it's actually my favorite thing is to hang out with my grandkids and show them the world and see things through their eyes. And not to mention spoil them, load them up with sugar, and give them back to the rightful owner too. So if you haven't been a grandfather yet, do it. If you haven't been a grandmother yet, do it. Tell your kids to go make babies because it's awesome.
And it almost made all the pain and suffering that I know that I went through with my kids. And I know, we experienced what we put our parents through, I guess, right? But I have a 1.5-year-old granddaughter, and Saturday now my daughter is pregnant. She's gonna have, so we had this gender reveal party. Did you ever hear of that?
This is all new to me, but
I know, but they have
congratulations, though. That's so awesome.
Thank you. So she's in like her 13th week. Anyway, they do a blood test and they have this whole thing. And I know that somebody that owned a bakery probably came up with this to sell more cakes. And so they get a cake, nobody knows what it is, and you cut the cake, and if it's blue, it's a boy, and if it's pink, it's a girl. So I have the video of it. It was amazing because my son-in-law, as he lifted the knife up, it was all blue. But on the inside, it was pink. So it was like a false positive. So I'm gonna have another granddaughter.
Congratulations. That's awesome. I've got 2 grandsons, and my daughter wants to have a girl, so I might have a lot of grandkids by the time all is said and done. I'm good with that. So, but yeah, it's so awesome.
But you did bring out a point because I talked to my daughter today, and she's not too happy. Apparently, Mike, it's not that easy, being pregnant. So I feel like I'm blessed.
Yeah, we have it pretty good. I have to admit, we have the good side of that.
But I respect women. I mean, I'm like, listen, honey, it's going to be over soon, and then you can try for the son, right? Because we all want a grandson. Anyway, Mike, so, I brought that out because that is part of your makeup and that part of what I love about you. You are, for people that don't know you, you want to give people a little bit of a snippet of who you are as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, like you, I've got this entrepreneurial bug, and I've been a serial entrepreneur all my life, and I've had pubs and a tomato sauce company and a furniture company and all these different ventures. But what I'm most known for, I'm most known as a real estate investor and real estate trainer. That's what people usually get me to speak about. But having said that, these days I got to also speak a lot about lifestyle because pre-COVID I was a nomad. Now I'm a semi-nomadic person, not quite as nomadic as pre-COVID. But yeah, I'm most known as a real estate investor. I've been doing that for 31 years, and it's been very, very good to me, and I'm very blessed. And it's given me the opportunity because of the money that I've made from that to be able to give back and do a lot of philanthropic things, which is really important to me. And also it's given me the capital to play with some other entrepreneurial ventures, like I mentioned. So, but yeah, that's the last 31 years of my life in a nutshell right there. So.
Yeah, and so we've been friends for a long time. I haven't taken any of your courses. I told you a long time ago. I'm like, you're on my,
Very disappointed, Joe.
and
I still
I
like
don't.
you.
I'm sorry.
I said I still like you. I still like you.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people tell you that, but I'm like, I actually had you on my calendar, and this is the time. So I'll be taking your course, and nothing happens by chance. I truly believe that. And I know you usually have this 3-day live event, right? That you couldn't do. And then you want to tell us about that? So how you became
Yeah, here's
virtual?
what happened. I mean, normally when there's no COVID, my life looks a little different than it does right now. Although I am in Cabo, Mexico, so I'm not complaining. But previous to this, I was locked. I wouldn't say lockdown. That's exaggerated. I was in Canada, where I'm from, and basically spent 7 months there, going a little stir crazy. But I was fine because it was like spring and summer. And then things started to shift a little bit, and the white stuff started to come down from the sky, and I had to leave. But anyway, the reason I tell you all this is that before COVID, normally I don't deal with winter anymore. I pretty much hang out in tropical places. And one of the things that I specialize in is passive income. And passive income is doing something one time and getting paid for it over and over and over again. And if you can create passive income successfully, it allows you to have an amazing lifestyle because you don't have to chase after the money anymore. It's just, keeps coming in. And so anyway, pre-COVID, I would do 1 or 2 live events a year. They're 3 or 4 days long. And, that's my teaching part, because that's the one thing that requires me. The rest of my businesses don't really require me. I've got teams. So,
And let me just chime in here a second, Mike, because I think this is important. That was one of the reasons why I never took your classes, because it was twice a year. I would have had to fly, to wherever. It was a big commitment. It just didn't work out on my schedule. But now I'm like, it's easy.
yeah, well, here's the silver lining to COVID is that, so normally I'm do my events, I fly somewhere tropical, and then 6 months later I might do another event. But now, so when COVID first hit and they were shutting down the world, basically, I thought, well, the safest place for me to hang out is back at home with my family, my grandkids, my daughter. So I came back to Calgary. I usually don't spend a lot of time there. I go back just to visit, then I leave. And the first couple of weeks I was back in Calgary, it was like, hey, I don't have any flights to catch this morning. I think I'm just going to sleep in. And I was getting lots of rest and just taking it super easy and loving it. And then I started to get lots and lots of calls from people with podcasts, radio stations, people with summits saying, hey, Mike, they're shutting down the global economy. Can you comment on what's going to happen to real estate? And it's like, so I went from being very, very, very lazy to being very busy. And then one of the people that put me on her summit, who's a good friend of mine, she teaches these courses on wealth creation, but she doesn't teach real estate per se. That's not her forte. So she goes, Mike, can you come speak? Can you come speak at my summit? So it started off as I'm speaking at her summit, and then it's like, oh, well, my audience loved you. Can you do some sort of mastermind for them? Can you do some 3-day events so that they can attend, and then do a year-long coaching program? And at first, I didn't really think I wanted to do that. But then I started to see that there are so many people so worried about the economy right now. So many people, scared about, hey, what's going to happen to my real estate? What's going to happen with my job? People really worried about money. And it kind of turned into my mission this year to go and help as many people with money as possible. And so it happened very organically. And I did not anticipate this, but I'm actually really grateful because COVID gave me extra bandwidth, extra time that I normally wouldn't have had. And it's allowed me to already do a couple of trainings online. And, we're getting great feedback, and I know we're making a difference. And to me, that's what lights me up, is making the difference. And so it all is as a result. If it weren't for COVID, I would be still doing 1 or 2 events a year. And with this, it's so easy. I just turn on my computer and don't have to go anywhere. So I'm doing this training. I'll probably be, I'll still definitely be in Mexico, probably not at the pool, might be a little too noisy, but at least on a deck overlooking the ocean. And it's just it's relaxing, and I get to teach people, so it's going to be fun. So this is something new that I hadn't done before. I wasn't sure if I could sit in front of my computer for 3 days straight, but I loved it. It's so much fun. It's interactive, and to me, it's a reunion. I get to see all my friends for 3 days too, so it's really cool.
It is, we start, I don't know about you, I'm starting to get used to this. I told you I just did the mastermind thing with Craig Duswalt, and just seeing, our old friends and stuff, it doesn't replace the live events. It never will, but at least it's something, and it's productive. And so now your 3-day events usually cost how much?
Yeah, so usually to hang out with me, my most popular event takes place in Houston, Texas. And I teach a strategy called tax deeds. And what a tax deed is, when people haven't paid their property taxes in a number of years, eventually the county needs that money for hospitals, schools, or police department, et cetera. And so eventually they put these homes up for auction. And I've had students get, single family homes for, $7,000 that were worth $90,000, $100,000. So that's my most popular training. And normally, like I said, I do it once or twice a year. It's $8,000. Used to be $8,000. The last time I did it was $10,000 to attend 4 days. But I give people not just the training, but I give them access to my teams. Meaning that if you live the furthest away, I've taught somebody from Australia how to do the strategy. But then I gave them my team, so my team will actually go to the auction on their behalf and bid for them. And so that's where a lot of the cost is, trying to build teams that can help my students from, getting reliable teams is very difficult. So anyway, to make a long story short, usually to work with me, it's like $8,000, $10,000. We spend 4 days together, but then you go do your first deal and it pays for it. So it's no problem. Because I'm doing it online, I don't have to book a conference room. I don't have to fly anywhere. There's, logistically, I just have to show up in front of my computer. Luckily, I have a team that does some of the other stuff in the background that makes me look good when I show up, but I don't have to deal with any of that. And so the first time I did it, this is going to be my third time doing a Zoom training for 3 days. The first time I did it, it was $1,000 and got really good feedback. I was super happy with it. But I had some people saying, well, I just lost my job, and I need this information more than ever. Now's when I need this, but I don't have, the $1,000 is really tight right now. And so I decided, because this is my mission, I want to train as many people as possible, help as many people as possible during COVID times. Because once things get back to normal, I'm going to go back to doing live events again. I may live stream because I'm really enjoying the Zoom. But anyway, that's an aside. So I decided to make it $97 so that absolutely anybody can afford to be there. I would actually do it for free, but people don't put any value if they get on things they get for free and they don't show up. So $97, you get to spend 3 days. I'm going to teach you some of the top strategies that work right now during these times. Even if you're locked down somewhere, you can do this from your computer. And the best strategies are going to work going forward. We're really about to hit this amazing, a lot of chaos, but also probably the best opportunity in our lifetimes to one, make money, but more importantly, there's going to be a lot of people in trouble. And I'm going to teach, I like to teach what I call ethical real estate investing, meaning that how you can help these people in trouble and create a win for them and get paid for doing it.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk to you about that, because you talked about that in my mastermind group. And I was in another mastermind group last night. Somebody actually quoted something that you said.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, about being an entrepreneur. It wasn't about real estate. It was like, you got to, I forget what it was, but I was like, yeah, I guess people are getting something from my mastermind. But the price, so I had you on my radar for $10,000. I was going to your event, and I didn't even care what it cost, because I know it was going to be worth it. And then I heard that you were doing it for $997. I was like, oh my God, there is a God. And when you told me 97, I thought you were crazy. I was like, no, wait. Did you say 97 or 997?
Well, you know what? Yeah. I mean, if I was doing this, when I do it live, my trainings, and I'm taking people to a certain location, and my teams are there, my overhead, my overhead is high. And if I'm going to load a whole bunch of people to use my teams, if I have too many students, the teams aren't going to do a good job. And also none of my students are going to get a result. So, those events, they have to be high priced just to keep out. I don't want somebody taking a seat that's not going to do the work. So I want people to be invested.
Listen, I know you, and I was like, if it was 20 grand, it would be worth it.
But I mean,
I want people to realize, this isn't like a pitch. We didn't stage this. This is your training. You're not watering it down. It's not like an upsell. This is what this is your course that you do for $8,000, $10,000, right?
Yeah. Well, this is the exact same course. I just want to clarify, because I'm not teaching taxes. I will be talking about taxes. But that alone is 4 days of training. So I can't do that in 3 days and still teach other strategies.
And that's a really highly specialized thing.
It is. But I'm going to be teaching stuff that, and the fact of the matter is, my favorite auction, which is in Houston, Texas, that auction has been shut down for 7 months now. So even if I taught you it, the day after the event, you can't monetize it. So even if I taught you it, it's great to know. And you should take that course down the road. But right now, I want to teach people stuff they can do right now. Like, I'm teaching Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday morning, you wake up. If you apply this stuff, you can start making money with it, and more importantly, helping people. But the reason I'm doing this, I make my money doing real estate. The teaching stuff, that's a bonus side thing for me that I do, because people are always asking me, hey, how do I learn how to do this? How can you teach me? And if we go back to 2007, in 2007, during the last really big recession, when a lot of people were in trouble, I set up a company called Foreclosure Fixers. And the reason I set it up is there's so many people losing their homes to the banks. And I had the knowledge that I knew I could keep people in their homes. And so I sent out marketing materials saying I can help keep you in your home. And then I get calls from two different types of people. Type 1 are people that, sometimes bad things happen to good people. And we get sick, we lose our job, we get divorced. These things happen. And it's not any fault of our own. Nobody chose for COVID to happen. So there's going to be a ton of people that are in category number 1 that nobody chose for their business to go under. Nobody chose to lose their job. There's going to be a whole lot of people in trouble. For people like that, during, when I had that business running, I would usually, a lot of these people, they lose their job, but now they're working again. And they got behind maybe, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on their, mortgage. And they can't afford that, but they can now afford the payments. And so I would loan them money and they'd pay me back in installments. And it was a great win-win. I charged some interest. I made some money. They got to stay in their home. We all win. But then there's a second type of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Explain this, but I want to, because I'm interested in this. I never heard of this kind of a concept.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
From a real estate person.
I didn't know anybody else who was doing it. And most other lenders, if you're a professional lender, you would look at that as high risk. Because I know the real estate side of things, I know it was very low risk because, I basically made them sign paperwork and I said, I'm going to give you a chance that nobody else is going to give you. And if you make your payments, no problem. But if you screw up, you're not going to lose the home to the bank. You're going to lose it to me. And guess what? I never once had to take somebody's home back.
Okay. So now what you've done has been my dream. And that's to take your skills, your entrepreneurial knowledge, because, we got to make money. We're in this for profit. But when you introduced us in my mastermind, the fact that you could do this from how can we help these people standpoint.
Exactly.
I lost a house a long time ago. When I first got married, I went through bankruptcy. It wasn't, if I don't know if there were people like you out there, but so if you could explain a little bit about how that works, because that's really what I'm interested in.
Absolutely. Well, to me, investing is making your money work for you. It's not trading your time for money. And so, these people were terrified. Most people don't understand the foreclosure process. I took the time to learn it because when I was setting up this business, I wanted to add as much value to my clients as possible. So I learned it inside and out. And so for people that were, these people that were in trouble, I loaned the money and I said, listen, nobody else is going to loan you money. And that was the truth because they were in arrears. Who in their right mind would loan somebody money who's in debt to another lender? So, but I could see that sometimes, like I said, sometimes bad things happen to good people. And these are people that normally would make that. They would never dream of missing a payment. They would never, they're just not wired that way. They're good with money, but they had something bad happen to them. And so I would loan them the cash to do this. Now, I know some of you are thinking, oh, well, I'd love to do that, but I don't have that kind of money to just go loan people money. Well, because I was doing so many of these deals, my money started to get all tied up too. And so you have to be a little bit creative. So I'd go raise money from other people, say, hey, I'm willing to give you I'll give you 6 or 7% of your money. And then I'd loan it out to these people, maybe at 8 or 9, and keep the difference. And so there's ways to do this with none of your own money, by the way. I'll go into more detail on my 3-day event.
Which is another thing I want to learn. I like the no money part.
Yeah, but then there's a second group of people too. So we have the first group, sometimes bad things happen to good people. Then we have another segment of the population, and these are people that live beyond their means. And it's like one missed paycheck and their whole world comes crumbling down. And people like that, if you were to loan them money, they'd never be able to pay you back in a million years. And these are people that, back during the crisis, that was happening back in those days, everybody was qualifying, even if you had horrible credit. You got to write your own job letter. The practices were ridiculous. So a lot of people got in trouble because they were they wanted to keep up with the Joneses and have a bigger house than their friends. And so people like that, you can't bail them out in that way. But I would do what I would give them a soft landing. And what I mean by that is, somebody like that, if they call me up and they're in pre-foreclosure, they're going to lose their home soon. It'd be very easy for me to come in there and be a vulture and say, okay, well, I'm going to take over your home, and leave them stranded and, leave them in a really bad spot. And I would get the home run. I get the paycheck if I did that, but that's not how I teach people to do things. That's not how I would do it myself. So what I would do, I'd always make sure that I'd give them money for a damage deposit. I'd make sure they had a couple months worth of rent, money for food. I'd help them get back on their feet, get a fresh start. And then I'd help them. And sometimes I put them in one of my other properties, maybe do a rent to own for them so that some of their rent was going towards the purchase. And so, for people like that, you're giving them a whole new lease on life, because if the bank would have taken their home, they'd be out on the streets, probably homeless, maybe if they were lucky finding a relative to live with, but definitely not affording a home. And so I'd give them another chance. Now, the really cool thing that happened from that is one, not only did I sleep really well at night, knowing I was helping somebody else, and I was still making money doing it. I didn't get the home run, but maybe I was getting, to second base. But these people, if they just lost their job, for example, well, guess what? They worked with 10 other people that lost their jobs. So of course they're going to refer all their friends to me. And so I wouldn't get the one home run, but I'd get 10, really nice, mediocre paychecks. And I was never looking for clients. That kept me really, really busy. And then the icing on the cake, as if that's not great enough, is on the way back up. People always, if you help them and you educate them a little bit, eventually they're going to come back up and they're going to need another home again. And guess who they come to? Me. And so it was yet another paycheck, another win for me, a win for them. And so when you do things the right way, I really believe in karma. I think that it comes back 100-fold. I don't do it for that reason. That to me is just a bonus, that it just works out that way. But, giving people that soft landing meant that I was never looking for clients, never had bad reviews online. Everybody, talked nicely about me, referred their friends. And so the reason I tell you all this is that when I heard that the global economy was shutting down because of COVID, I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. And I was thinking, I'm going to have to set up foreclosure fixers again. Not that I mind setting it up again, but I'm like semi-retired now. Back in 2007, I was working a lot harder than I work today, or at least pre-COVID. And so I was thinking, oh, now I got to set this up again. And, one story I just want to mention is that one lady that I helped back in those days, she called me up maybe 3 months after I had helped her. And she goes, Mike, I never told you this, but the day that I received your marketing material, I was thinking of killing myself that day. And so when you hear stories like that, that you're helping people with a lot more than just their financial situation. Behind all that, when somebody's struggling financially, that their relationships aren't working well. That their health probably isn't good. They're depressed, they're stressed, they're freaking out, they're in a really bad state. And so you don't even know the ways that you're helping people. It's not just that you help, save their home from foreclosure. You're helping them in so many ways you may never even understand. And so when I heard about the global economy shutting, it kind of became my mission to help people. I knew that was coming down the pipeline where I'd be helping people. And we haven't even come close to seeing the tip of the iceberg yet to what's about to happen to this economy.
Okay. Hold on. Hold
Okay.
that thought 1 second.
All right.
I like to keep these short because people just don't watch long videos anymore, and I want them to watch this.
All right.
And we're going to come back to you again on Thursday, so we could have part 2 of this. In 3 minutes or less, what do you see? Because I know things go in waves, and I don't know where we are in this wave, and this is going to be like years, I think. So what do you see happening in like the next year, let's say, in real estate?
Yeah. So where we are right now, we're in the middle of a really weird bubble that shouldn't really exist. But because the government is giving people money, there's a moratorium on foreclosures, which is good. I'm for that, by the way. I don't think people should be thrown out in the middle of the streets during a pandemic. I'm for that, but that's not going to last forever. That is going to shift, and that's going to lead to probably the biggest transfer of wealth in history. And when I talk about transfer of wealth, the most important word is transfer. That money it doesn't disappear. It floats to somewhere else. It doesn't vanish. And so we're seeing right now a lot of people at the top. I mean, look at J.C. Penney. Been around for how long? Declaring bankruptcy and all these bankruptcies and lots of small businesses, restaurants going under. So what we're going to see is a lot of money transferring, and this is an opportunity for people who maybe over the years have thought, oh man, if only I was around during that opportunity. We never look at it as an opportunity when it's an opportunity. We see it afterward. That hindsight thing, it's like, oh, that was an opportunity. 07 was an opportunity. Most people were losing their shirts. To me, that was a really big opportunity. So this is going to be a really big opportunity. I mean that in a good way. Opportunity not in, hey, let's be vultures and go take advantage of people. Opportunity to find, people who are in trouble that need our help and come up with solutions for them. And if we can do that, we can make a lot of money. We can be really involved in that transfer of wealth. And so what I see happening is a lot of chaos, a lot of money changing hands, a lot of people that are now not very wealthy becoming wealthy, and a lot of people that were wealthy. Imagine you're in New York. Imagine you owned a whole bunch of office space in downtown Manhattan across from Central Park a year ago. That was like the most enviable position in the world. Right now, that's a nightmare to own a bunch of empty office space in downtown Manhattan across from Central Park. So we're seeing opportunity shifting. We're seeing very wealthy people that are going to unfortunately slide down that ladder. Luckily, if they had the mindset to get there in the first place, they'll get back up there eventually. So we don't have to worry. But there's going to be a lot of people that have never experienced wealth before. And if they take this time to educate themselves and instead of being like me when I first got back to, after COVID and just sleeping in all day and watching Netflix, if we take that time to educate ourselves instead, we're going to be in a really good, spot, down the road. And one of the things, I don't know if I've gone over my 3 minutes, but one of the things that I would recommend is don't become a victim of COVID. And I mean that in a financial sort of sense. Don't, like a year from now, don't say, oh, I was super successful and then COVID came along. And that's your story for the rest of your life as to why you're no longer successful. Instead, use this opportunity so that you look back, a year from now and 5 years from now and say, man, as bad as COVID was in certain ways, and I certainly don't want to downplay it because there's definitely some downside to this, but it can also be one of the best things that ever happens to you as well. If you take this time and use it wisely and educate yourself on some of the opportunities. So I hope that was under 3 minutes. I think it was 2:59.
Yeah. I think it was 2:56, but
perfect.
No, but perfect. And that's why, I'm excited about this. I don't know if you've realized that, but I am truly excited. I know people in my mastermind are excited about it after meeting with you. Because for $97, it's like what John Limbacher calls that irresistible offer. It's like, are you kidding me? What's the catch?
Yeah, and the reason I do it is, okay, if I'm starting up foreclosure fixers again, what if I had 100 other people that had my knowledge that were applying it? Maybe if I set up foreclosure fixers, I'll help 50 families this year. If I can train 100 people to each help 50 families, that's a huge win. And so to me, it's not about the money. I can make money doing, if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't be teaching. I just do another real estate deal. I don't need to do, so to me, this is about paying it forward. And I look back at some of the worst times in history financially for most people, like '07, and it was an amazing opportunity for me. I did very well during that time. I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm just saying that if I could have transferred my knowledge to more people back then, instead of people suffering, they could have been on the other side of that, on that transfer of wealth that happened back then. And so I just want to get things out there as much as possible. Well, I've got this extra time where I'm not bouncing around the world. And also I'm recording everything. I want to teach my grandkids. I want to teach, so I've wanted to do this for a long time, and this has given me the time and bandwidth to actually do the stuff that I should have done a long time ago.
Well, it happens when it's supposed to happen. That's what I believe.
True.
So, and it's like, I heard a long time ago, when opportunity knocks, answer. And this is, I believe, I'm a history buff too. And more people became millionaires after the Depression. True. Than ever before, probably out of necessity. They had no choice but to become creative, and that's almost where we are now with a lot of people. And I know what you're going to teach. And so I'm really excited about it. If you're on the fence, you can come back again Thursday. I'll be talking to Mike again about his grandchildren and his philanthropy, hopefully. And Mike, any last words?
I just want to dispel a few myths really quickly, because I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, I'd love to do real estate, but I've got no money." And I can tell you that when I started 31 years ago, I was like, when people say they've got no money, I tell them, when I started, I wish I had no money. I was aspiring to get no money. But I was actually trying to, I got my first degree. I was trying to pay off my student loan debt so I could go and afford to go back and get my second degree. I was going to become a lawyer. And so I was actually $25,000 in debt, which in 1989 was a lot of money. I was $25,000 in debt. I was trying to get to zero. So people, when they come to me and they say, "Hey, I've got no money," it's like, don't worry. You could have bad credit, no cash. If I knew this stuff, if I had this stuff 31 years ago, and I'm not complaining, I'm very grateful, by the way, for where I've gotten to, but I could save myself a lot of stress and headaches along the way to get to this point. Because I didn't know, like, a lot of this stuff. I didn't know these strategies. So I kept trying to save money to buy properties, but I got very resourceful, and I'm going to teach you different ways you can make money, even if you have like zero. So don't let any of the things that I know are hurdles in your mind, don't let them stop you. Attend. If you don't think it was worth the $97, I'll gladly give you your $97 back. Come watch it, attend for the 3 days, tell me it sucked, and I'll give you your $97 back. So,
and I don't
done that. So
I don't see that ever happening, Mike. But thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you, brother. I
see you. I will, be getting people there only because they should. It's
so, and even if you just use the stuff once to help a friend who got into trouble with their mortgage, it would be so worth it. Or maybe yourself, or
listen, just the idea that I could make money in real estate if I find somebody in that situation and I can broker a deal to help them. Like, I don't even have to. I used to think that real estate was, I buy an apartment building and now I'm a landlord. No, what you've showed me is that real estate can be a lot of things.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many different ways, and that's why it's 3 days. And I'm very famous for going overtime every day. So it's supposed to go 9 to 5 Mountain Time every day. We'll probably go to like 6 or 7, because I just I want to get everything in. I just want to teach everything I know. And like I said, there's just so much opportunity, and most people don't have a clue. None of this is taught in the school. A lot of the stuff I teach, nobody else is doing or teaching. Just like you said earlier, loaning people money that are behind on their payments, but that can now afford the monthly payments. They just can't afford the lump sum.
If I was your accountant, I would tell you you're nuts. Don't do it.
Exactly. And I would have told myself I was nuts too, except I did it with one person and worked out really well. And I got to be a good judge of character. And two, there's a lot of people that, yeah, they can afford monthly. They just can't afford this lump sum. And if you got sick, lost a job, and you missed 4 months worth of paychecks, what are you going to do? I mean, so
Right.
I'm very empathetic for people get in a bad spot for whatever reason.
All right, Mike. I think your grandson is calling you.
That sounds like it. There you go.
All right, over and out. That's our story. We're sticking with it. Stop back tomorrow night and definitely Thursday, where I will have Mike for the second part of Mike Wolf Mastery. God bless and thank you.